So an event was put on in Southern California called In Memory of Paul. And, it was very, very grassroots put together. It was, chain link fencing kind of, bordering it. It was done at a community college in Southern California. And it ended up being massive. There were like 7,000 people that showed up. The highway patrol ended up having to like shut down an off ramp and had to bring a guy out with a clicker, letting people in, letting people out kind of thing.
Wow.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lambo and Leroy Show. Today, we're changing up a little bit. We couldn't get our boy in the studio, so we are doing a Zoom call. I think it should work out pretty good, though, so we'll see how things go.
Just bear with us.
We'll get this dialed in. We're stoked on it.
You too, Randal. Just bear with us.
Yeah.
You're kind of our guinea pig right now with this.
Today, we got Randal, as I call him, Smoothers.
Smoothers.
In my phone, it's always been Smoothers, so he's Randal Smoothers.
We kind of got to hear that story, I think, don't we?
from FuelFest. Randal, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, that's funny that you say Smoothers. If you guys remember MySpace, that was actually my MySpace name back in the day.
That is awesome.
You just dated yourself, and I'm going to probably not do the same by saying I understand what you're talking about. I don't know what MySpace was.
MySpace was the good old days, man. We had the top 8. Who's on your top 8?
Oh, dude, I don't know any of them anymore.
Yeah, you?
No way.
I mean, I always like the playlist.
Oh, the playlist is awesome. I always good songs on there, man.
Yeah.
I was struggling. I was struggling to have 8. I was like, gosh, can anybody just bring me on here and accept me and all that?
I mean, at least you had Tom. Tom was probably in your top 8, right?
It's impressive you remember that. That is amazing.
So FuelFest, Randal, FuelFest. Why don't you kind of fill us in with what FuelFest is?
Oh, dude, yeah, it's this meshing of these major different events into one big event. So you've got, some pretty mainstream things all blended into one. So you got the music festival side of it, you got the car show side of it, then you've got the motorsport side of it. So each of those things on their own are their own independent events, and we put those 3 together, we produce all 3 together and just make this massive single day celebration of car culture all in one, it's been awesome. It's been a wild ride for sure.
So now is it like it's a car show or music festival or
everything?
It's all in one.
Yeah, it's all of those all at once. So the second we open gates, I mean, the switch gets flipped on and it's just like it just goes. All those things are happening all at the same time.
Is it kind of like, I mean, I haven't been to a rave, but I know a lot of people that like the raves, how they're more like, they're an event. It's a show, right? I mean, the stages, everything. Is it kind of like that mixed with cars and everything?
Yeah, I'd say it's an authentic festival with, different areas and different zones in the show. You've got your car show area with all of the different sponsors and vendors and booths integrated in. And so that's popping all day. Cars are like being unveiled. And then, as you kind of walk through the show more, there's like a curated area where there's more cars. And then there's a VIP section where there's just like more stuff going on inside there. Then you kind of like transcend onto the motorsport side and you see the big festival stage and all the smoke going. So, it's just, just a ton of different stuff going on all at the same time, all over. The whole grounds are just like lines of people winning stuff, raffles happening, unveilings, and it's
now,
insane.
Is this kind of like what SEMA's trying to do this year?
I would say that they're very similar. Yeah, it looks like, based on the way that it's being presented, that would be pretty similar. I don't know. I don't know really much about that one.
I don't think anybody really knows what it is right now.
Yeah, I think everyone's a little bit confused on what SEMA is putting together on from what they say is it's a SEMA Ignite, but for multiple days. What they're trying to portray. I'm definitely very curious on what's going to happen. But I know the background about FuelFest, so I've worked with you guys for the past year and a half, 2 years now. Give us the lowdown. Where did FuelFest come from?
Yeah. So after Paul passed away, the family really wanted to do something that kind of celebrated it and brought everybody together officially to kind of pay their respects in the car community. And an event was put on.
And this is Paul Walker?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Paul Walker, sorry, yeah. And so an event was put on in Southern California called In Memory of Paul. And, it was very, very grassroots put together. It was, chain link fencing kind of, bordering it. It was done at a community college in Southern California. And it ended up being massive. There were like 7,000 people that showed up. The highway patrol ended up having to like shut down an off ramp and had to bring a guy out with a clicker, letting people in, letting people out kind of thing.
Wow.
And, everybody was like, this was really cool. And, this was great to see everybody come together like this. This thing's definitely got some legs to take off. And then from there, it kind of became something where let's broaden it and develop it something more generally for the car enthusiasts out there. And so FuelFest came about. And that first show started in 2019. So that In Memory of Paul show was 2018. The first FuelFest kicked off in 2019.
Wow. So, you built this thing through COVID, basically, when everything's shut down, all the events. As soon as you're getting ready to go, then you get knocked down. So then you had to get creative with it.
Yeah, no, it was cool. We, we were able to get off 2 shows in 2019. We did our first show in Anaheim, California in Angel Stadium.
Okay.
And then we immediately went off to London and did a show in London, it was incredible to see it. We would love to go back. We definitely love our UK family out there.
Now, when you go to UK, that's something that's definitely easier said than done, right? Did you have someone from your team that already had connections there to facilitate it? It's one thing to put on an event here locally, but to go to a different country is pretty wild.
Yeah, we had some friends out there that were kind of the eyes and the ears. We went and did a site visit out there and checked the place out. But it was us. It was our team putting it together. We mapped the thing out on Google, because it was
so insane.
You're constantly remembering, okay, it's meters out there, not feet. And so you're measuring things out and working in these little shires, where it's like the rules are just different out there, right? Somebody could come in the night before and just be like, hey, I don't want this to happen. And it's like, oh,
okay. What do we do?
How do I convince you do?
Well, you invite all their friends is what you do. You give them a bunch of tickets.
You include them.
It was awesome. And I think something like 10,000 people showed up. And
really?
Wow.
We were 3 hours northeast of central London, out in a city called Chelmsford, and we did it on a golf course, and it was kind of cool, is to see these cars making these treks. And I think there were something like 120 GTRs that showed up from just different clubs, and
insane.
How many vehicles showed up?
That one had about 650. Something around 650.
Because it's pretty crazy to think about, I guess being naive in our own, American bubble, you don't really think of the car culture outside of, United States. I think American Muscle, V8s, but it's almost like the car culture is maybe even larger in other countries than it is here.
It is. And you got to think too, their access to some of the American parts or Japanese parts or just wherever you are in the world, your access to aftermarket parts it's significantly harder to get some of these things. So you've almost got somebody who's a even more die-hard enthusiast that's going to pay all of those,
import fees, man.
No, it's definitely expensive. just to ship one of our products there, it's probably quadruple the cost of the part.
Oh yeah.
And it takes a lot longer. They have to have a lot more patience. I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, no, it's we've got some big surprises coming up next year that those things are taken into account. Of the different countries that we're going to be announcing that we're going to. That their access to parts are significantly harder to get. So us going there, we're going to kind of try to bring some friends with us. That just gets everybody all stoked. But it's the cooler thing too about some of these international shows is some of the cars that are illegal here aren't illegal there.
That's rad.
So, you've got some cars that roll up that as Americans we're just like, wait a second, you've got 4 of those, or something like
it's
that.
It's like a myth almost here. Like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Something you heard about the unicorn.
Yes, the unicorn.
Yeah, and they roll up and there's 60 of them, and you're just like, that's incredible. So I'd say we get a little jaded from time to time as we're doing some of the load-ins or we see the cars that are being registered. But on show day, I'll tell you that and Bryant, you've seen it. When you guys are loading cars in, and I don't even notice you guys have a camera near me because it's like peeking out on some of these cars, and it's cool, man. No, it's been a wild ride. Those international shows are incredible.
I love that. I mean, let's go back to that very first show. It dumped rain all day in Anaheim, and it was flooded out. I mean, that had to be one of those things like, oh my, what is happening right now? Do we keep doing this? How do you take that and pursue like, no, we're doing this? How does that happen?
I mean, okay, so as a born and raised Californian, first of all, you don't ever believe it's going to rain. So, when the forecast says rain, everybody's just like, nah.
Yeah, it might. It says 10% over the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're good. So we just went with that mindset of like, we've got, I think there were something around like 10,000 people or something that bought tickets, right? And so we're like, these are people, and they were buying that week. That was kind of the coolest thing. These are people that have seen the forecast and don't care. So how can we care if they don't care?
Yeah.
And so we just went for it, and it was what was kind of cool was to see everybody just with umbrellas, everybody with ponchos, everybody with rain boots. Like we were making bridges out of shipping pallets and sandbags and stuff because there was. We learned there that the Anaheim Angels drainage system is not
didn't flow well.
You were in the flood zone.
Yeah. So at some point, you're sitting there at like a sponsor booth, and then you turn around and you're like, I'm now on an island, and
oh my god.
And you get the Santa Ana riverbed right there. You think it would flow pretty well right to it.
Yeah, that's what we thought. So. No, it ended up being awesome. Tons of cars showed up. People were there. I mean, they didn't care. It was almost like, that's just the level of fandom and that's the level of support that we had. And that was kind of the aha moment when, we're like, and I'm glad you bring up the rain because we're like, let's go to London.
Well, you're like, yeah, we can do it here. So that was good. That's when you brought this up. Because I was leading to my next question is a lot of, the people who see the event, go to the event, they see the success of all the hard work. And they don't see all these roadblocks and hurdles you have to jump. Like, were there a ton of new hurdles and roadblocks? I mean, it's probably a learning curve every time you go to a different country.
It's
like,
all different.
I mean, how do you hold it together till that very last minute? I mean, obviously failure is not an option, but like, it's just pivoting left to right and just trying to make moves.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, stepping up a ladder each show that we do where we kind of, we hold that experience on our backs and we take that same level of preparedness to the next event. And it's like, okay, what would we do if this happened? Or what would we do if that happened? But, we've got an incredible team that really doesn't miss a mark when it comes to these things. And, really holds each other accountable to be like, did you finish this? Did you do this? Did you check that? And, permitting and all of that type of stuff. So
now are you guys shipping cars, like some iconic vehicles to some of these events?
So that's a great question. When we announce that we're going to go to a new location, we're like blown away at the cars that happen to be in somebody's grandpa's, farmhouse or whatever, in some of these countries or whatever. I would say we don't ever really need to because they're there. Like,
yeah.
We'll announce, hey, we're going to do a show in such and such city. And then like 2 days later, we'll get an email like, did you know that so-and-so has like a collection of 15 Fast and Furious cars? Or, they've got the car from the movie Bullet and this and that. And you're just like, no, we didn't know that. That's awesome.
We do now.
You're like, thanks.
Yeah, give them our number. Let's get them there. So that's been really cool to see. Just like it transcends every generation. It transcends every genre of car. There's dudes with blown Chargers, and then there's somebody who's like, hey, I made this one car that was just like it's in a second of one of the movies, but it's my favorite car. And you're like, dude, bring the car. It's awesome. So it's been so cool to see.
It's awesome that you can like identify the passion here. I mean, so many people like will put on a car show or a small event or something here locally, but to then recognize that passion for automotive and aftermarket is everywhere, and being able to take a show like that to somewhere else is, I mean, that's thinking out of the box, bro. I mean, I don't know. I mean, most people don't do that. They would have given up after the first one in Anaheim with rain. Like, okay, they would not have been like, let's go to Europe.
Yeah, that one was a challenge. And then with COVID hitting, we had 3 shows scheduled in 2020, and we decided to do like a digital show because like, our first show was scheduled like in April of 2020.
Oh my God.
Right when things just like popped off. Yeah. So it was like, okay, let's go with like, what were you gonna show? And so we got a little creative, but we knew 2021 was going to be the year that we really just like, took it to the full level. We came out with, I think, we had 2 shows scheduled, 2 venues that were like, yeah, we'll let you guys do shows. We just, and a lot of it is just throwing it up in the air, and kind of hoping, but just, almost like manifesting this is going to happen. So,
yeah. I mean, do you think that COVID and having to do those online shows and everything just almost built up anticipation for those next events, and it maybe aided in them being larger and bigger than they ever would have been?
I mean, we're at the end of the day, like we're fans ourselves. So when we were able to come out and say like, yeah, we're going to do a show in June 2021, we were stoked just to get out and do stuff, And so it just so happened that like a month before the show, the state had announced like, 4 days before our show, the state will reopen. And we're just like, whoa. So I really think so that following Saturday was our first show in 2021 of that year. And I really think that like, that might've been the first large gathering, like officially sanctioned, legal large gathering in the state. Cause we had already planned it. Like we just went, we're like, we're just going to see what happens. And then it went in our favor, which was awesome.
That's really rad.
Yeah.
So after Europe, where did you guys jump to? Did you jump back to the States then?
Yeah. We came back to the States in 2021. And then 2022, we did one show in Japan, which was insane. We're actually all headed back there in a week to go do our year 2 there. And then we went to Abu Dhabi in December. Those were international. We did a few shows in between here in the States, which were super cool.
I feel like Japan would have Abu Dhabi, but I feel like Japan would just have a wild range of vehicles. And you probably see a lot of American vehicles from, in the 80s and 90s when tons of our vehicles were going over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the surprising ones that we saw was H2 Hummers.
Oh, really? We sell a lot of H2 Hummer exhausts to Japan. We sold a ton of Astrovan exhausts.
Makes sense.
The H2 Hummer was like they imported it out there, so it was kind of insane. So there's like a section of the Japan show where it's an H2 Hummer parade, and they just don't. Oh my
God!
It's like probably 600 H2 Hummers going down the front straight.
I mean, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, the icon, the icon of American vehicles. Like, we still sell quite a bit. We actually have a specific exhaust that we sell to Japan that is a quieter version to meet all their sound requirements and stuff. Yeah.
I'm surprised that thing can even drive in some of those streets, to be honest.
They just run everything over.
Probably just go for it.
But Japan would be amazing. Abu Dhabi, I'm assuming just massive amounts of supercars, right?
Yeah, it was kind of it's kind of what you imagine, and the thing that we wanted to do was bring an American kind of twist to this big off-road festival that they do out there every year. And the coolest thing was just putting those, skittled colors, supercars on top of sand. That was
insane.
That is
kind
wild.
of one of the bucket list things to see that and just have all the different colors, and then you've got just on top of that sand. That was super cool to see that out there.
I mean, were these countries easier or more difficult to put them on than Europe was?
Europe wasn't as challenging as like looking back at it, it seemed challenging at the time because, we had just really done one show in Anaheim at that time. So we were all kind of coming together and learning the processes and stuff. But, generally, the international shows kind of sometimes pose the same challenges here in the States, just because you're still going through the same checks and balances. You've got to think safety, you've got to think ingress, egress, traffic flow, restrooms, food, all of that type of stuff, parking, and
communication with just time changes. Just you're not communicating. You're communicating right before you go to bed or right when you get up in the morning or sometimes in the middle of the night.
Yeah, Japan's 16 hours ahead.
Yeah, when those come around, you're like, all right, my days shift, but at the same time, we're still doing shows here in the States. Not even a month after we're in Japan, we're in New Jersey. So, it's just that there's really no off season with this, because when you go to different countries, there's different weather patterns and stuff, and so you kind of take that into account too. That hey, the best time to go to this country might be really the worst time to do something in the States.
Yeah.
So,
so people that aren't familiar with FuelFest, like, what can they expect? Like, if let's say Jersey's coming up or something, right? I mean, like, what is a ticket admission and what can they expect? Like, why do people listening who aren't familiar that want to go to this event?
Right. Yeah. So it's really we like to call it like the ultimate car show experience. So think of, when you're going to your Cars and Coffee and stuff like that, and then just add, a ton of production to it, a ton of entertainment and activities to do. So if anybody, is interested in seeing cars, but then experiencing what it sounds like for a drift car to lose traction and just billow smoke, or what it sounds like to see two supercars, going down the front straight side by side, head to head racing. There's going to be, a massive festival stage. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be doing the motorsports on the front straight of New Jersey Motorsports Park.
Wow.
And then we've got 2 chicanes set up for the drift cars with some elevation change, which is going to be awesome. There's VIP towers that people can go up and really see stuff from the top. And we've got Cody Walker, who will be coming. We've got Tyrese Gibson from the Fast and Furious movies coming as well. They'll walk the crowd. Like, it's pretty awesome. They're just like all of us, like, we're fans of this. So when we're out there seeing stuff, it's like you can kind of get carried away sometimes just looking at cars, and you're like, I'm at work right now. I
gotta work.
Right. It just makes all the hard work worth it once you're there.
Oh, it does, man. It does. And it's kind of funny because once gates open and everybody's kind of, all the wheels are in motion, you're kind of like, what do I do now? And then you go and find things to do that are fun, and you kind of go make things happen. And you hear a kid get stoked in a car, and you're like, hey, do you want to get in that car? And so you kind of stop what you're doing for a moment, think of yourself as that kid, and then you're like, I'm going to go see if the owner of that car will let this kid sit in the car,
Yeah.
And that's always cool.
Back in the day when we were younger growing up, you would go to truck shows or some of the events, and they would have monster trucks driving around or stuff to kind of keep you occupied, and things those kind of died, and what came back from it was more of like car meets, right? Enthusiasts talking about their cars and interacting, and it didn't really open the door too much for maybe new people to get into the industry and being able to show them what that lifestyle is about, let them hear it, feel it. So by doing that, I would say there's really not many shows or any shows that I can think of that are like this. There's just the Cars and Coffees, the meetups, the cruises, some of those things. And the only excitement most of people get is when the people are leaving the venue and get on it.
You could do drift ride-alongs. At most of the shows, they have drift ride-alongs. So you could jump in with these FD drivers, and they'll give you a full lap around, and you jump out. Dude, there's lines all day long for you to jump in different cars. It's insane how it works.
I can't imagine that how awesome that would feel. I mean, most people will probably never get to feel what it feels like to virtually be out of control when a car almost feels like it's on ice all of a sudden.
No, I was just about to say it's exactly that situation. And a lot of the times, for some of these first time events or first time venues that we'll go to, the people that are coming to these shows are very, they like cars. A lot of them are diehards, but then there's a lot of them that are really like, they want to go to support the charity. They want to go, because they want to see some celebrities. They want to see some cool cars. They want to see these things in action, but a lot of them have never seen that before. So they don't know what it smells like. They don't know what the cars sound like. They've never seen, a 1200 horsepower car just absolutely screaming,
Rad.
And so you feel it in your chest, and you can get really close. And, And then, all of our pits are integrated into the show. So there's no off limits like, oh, no, those are the pits. Get as close as you can get to that race car. Look at the engineering behind it. Look at the build. Talk to the drivers.
It reminds me of like, drag racing kind of, right? Like you can watch Top Fuel cars run down on TV and it's like, okay, I mean, you get it if you know it.
When you're
there and you're in the pits and their eyes are burning, they're running, and then you feel like you don't see the car go down the track. You feel it go down the track. It's life-changing really for where you're at. I mean, that's awesome. You can provide that too. I mean, I've never really got to see a supercar rip hard and get out of control unless I was just on PCH and they did it for a little bit, right?
And that's the one time that car gets driven like that or something, which is but yeah, so we'll have, I think we're sitting somewhere around like 80 supercars that are going to be doing roll racing, so they're already going to be going like 40 miles an hour, and then just rip it. And then the drift guys, so they'll be revolving like every hour. There's going to be something new on the track.
That's rad.
It's going to be cool.
And this is in Jersey?
Yeah. So this is at New Jersey Motorsports Park on September 9th. It's our first time to the Northeast, and we get hit up all the time. You got to come here. You got to come here. And we were looking at different tracks up there in the Northeast and everything. And we're like, there's a lot of really cool locations, but I don't think really any of them had the type of growth that is capable up in New Jersey. And so at that New Jersey Motorsports Park, like, there's opportunities there to where this show can become, it could be a flagship event up there. And,
I mean, how do you replicate that in Southern California? Like, do you go to Yermo? Do you go out to like Desert Center to that random track out there? Like, how do you replicate that same type of feeling here? I mean, can you do that at the Anaheim Stadium and get cars running that fast?
Well, Irwindale.
Irwindale,
They do Irwindale every year.
The House of Drift, legendary House of Drift. So we're inside the oval. It's kind of cool. We've kind of made like this hybrid show where we open the oval up for people to be able to go down into this historic oval. There's cars on showcase down there. There's the stage down there. There's drifting down there. We've somehow, managed to fit it all in that place.
Okay,
and,
wow.
600 cars or something just everywhere. I mean, everywhere you turn, there's something going on at that show. It's incredible. That was our last show. We just wrapped up, and we all came off of that just like
on a high. And you had what, 15,000 people?
Yes.
Insane, man.
Yeah, there was probably we were probably reaching that breaking point where everybody was going to start going, when are you guys going to call it? And that morning we hit the limit, and we're just like, whoa, that was wild.
So this year, Brian was kind of naming off some of the events. Where are you guys going this year? Like, how many locations?
Yeah, so we're doing 6 locations domestically, and we're doing 2 locations internationally. And so we started the year off in West Palm Beach. Massive show.
That'd be really good.
It's so fun.
That one had like 15,000 people as well. That one had over 800 cars be a part of it.
So many cars, dude.
Now, is there? Sorry to cut you off, but is there like a criteria for the vehicles that can be there, like a certain value or something?
No, that's a really good question. Like what we really want to accomplish is like, it's not our job to tell you that your car is not cool enough to inspire somebody. So, you never know who's gonna look at your car and be like, oh, that's the car I want, or what bumper do you have on that, or what wheels do you have on that, or something like that. So we welcome all makes and models. We definitely want to emphasize performance mods too, and we want to emphasize, something modified with the car that's more performance driven, or just wild builds, like just crazy things. So I think that opens the doors a lot to having, these enthusiasts from, this is my very first car, and I was able to get some wheels and a suspension kit, right? Or, hey, this is my dream. I put $200,000, $300,000 into this car, and so it really reaches this broad spectrum. So then
that applies to now. Where are you guys heading then to? So you have Japan coming up, right? And then
so we do. Yeah, we have Japan at Fuji International Speedway, and we fill that thing up. I think last year we had 33,000 people show up.
So insane.
Wow.
It was I've never seen anything like it. When we arrived, everybody was up, like standing up, just looking around like, oh, this is crazy. So we come off of that, and then we go to New Jersey Motorsports Park in September. We're back for 2 days in Las Vegas in October, early October. And then we're still finalizing our date right now for the show in Abu Dhabi, but I think it's going to be somewhere tailored around F1, which is really exciting.
That's awesome.
And then we'll end the year in Scottsdale over at Westworld on December 9th. So that's going to be
It almost feels like the right time to go to Abu Dhabi with F1.
Oh, yeah.
FuelFest, everything.
It'd be insane.
It'd be like the next Monaco.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wild. It's going to be wild. We're stoked for that one, man.
Is that probably the one you're looking forward to the most?
I'm really looking forward to. I mean, this is what I do. This is what I love to do. So I wouldn't really say that I have a favorite. I have some favorite layouts. I have some favorite, car clubs and people that come to the shows, but I don't know yet that I have a favorite. I really like Florida because they have the shortest amount of time to get tickets, and they just party. Like Florida is there.
No.
Bryant remembers it.
Dude, Florida was unreal, man. It was a big party.
Might have to come join you guys one of these times.
Like the show's over, and it's like hours after the show's over, and people are just kicking it to the point where you're like, if you're not going to start doing donuts, you got to go.
Dude, it was insane, man. They were partying. The drunk girl was my favorite, by the way, Randall.
I'm sure there was probably plenty of them, right?
The one that tried to jump the hurdle and
Dude, she tried to jump. She was running away from the cops, and she had jumped the fence and just her feet got stuck and went ding.
Laid herself out.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
It was like watching slow motion running. She had clearly had a few too many, and I'm just like, why are they not catching her? She's running so slow.
Oh man.
So, being an enthusiast yourself, what do you have parked in the garage, or what are you working on parking in the garage?
Yeah, I've got. I'm motorcycles, 2 wheels, man.
Nice.
I'll get down at the racetrack on the bike. I've got an R6 that I do track days with and stuff. And I'm going to convince the FuelFest team here that we need to start doing some builds that just need to be parked at my house pretty soon. So
I'll maintain it and make sure it's good.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in the name of the company, but it just it needs to be something that rhymes with GTR.
It's funny, man. We did a podcast and we had his nephew on here, and he's like, "Oh, what's your favorite car?" He's like, "GTR," which is so awesome, man.
Oh, dude, they're just. I mean, they just took over in authentic. Like they really just dominated racing to the point where they got named the Godzilla, and to this day, I mean, even with the R35 not having gone through so many different, updates and stuff throughout the years, it continues to dominate. There's so much you can do with that thing. But yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. It's something that I think is everybody's dream of just having like that niche car that, everybody can appreciate.
Yeah, man, you need that FuelFest car right there. Everyone's gonna know it's you.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have everything in the garage, there's going to be one of those in the garage. I mean, if you're going to dream about it, there's going to be one of those, maybe 2, right?
Yeah.
It's been cool to see this level of support from everybody, and all of the shows. A portion of all of the shows' proceeds benefit the charity Reach Out Worldwide, and I think we're somewhere around we're just shy of 400,000 that we've raised for the charity since.
Wow, that is so awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, Randall. Give us a lowdown on Reach Out Worldwide, where it came from. I know it was Paul Walker's charity, and now Cody and Felicia took it over when we passed, and now is just taking it to the next level.
Yeah. So when it started, I mean, Paul funded it completely. It wasn't something he just wanted to put his name on, and have it be something that he wasn't super involved in. I mean, he funded everything with it. He was the, boots on the ground. He was the one doing it behind the scenes. After he passed, and then Cody and Felicia, really just changed their lives to come down and continue that and continue that legacy that he had started. I would say that, it really took off from there, where I think, it's 13 years.
Sorry, Cody's Paul's brother, right?
Younger brother, right?
Yep. Cody's Paul's younger brother, and him and Felicia, run the charity now. are deploying 7, 8, 12 times a year, going to different disasters around the world and responding to those.
It's amazing.
It went from being funded by Paul now to being completely donation funded, and it's a complete, volunteer based charity. So the car culture really has rallied around it, which is kind of cool because, when you look at it from the beginning, it was something that Paul kind of did on, behind the scenes. And then it kind of came full circle where like the car community came in and like is now a huge supporter of it. And it's kind of cool to see that really come full circle like that.
That's amazing. Now, is there a website and everything where people can go see all this, see the schedule, buy tickets?
Yeah. So FuelFest.com is where you can see, that's a landing page that kind of breaks off into all of the individual event pages. Row is, row.org, reach out worldwide, row.org, to learn about the charity too. And on that FuelFest page are all, galleries of past events. If you ever want to see like, what goes down here, or kind of get a glimpse of that, but you're never really going to understand it unless you're there. And, walking by as you're walking in the show and you're like,
it's cool.
Something on fire? And it's like, no, you're right next to the drift course.
Chance would love it. His son, Chance, is 17 now?
Yeah, he'll be 18 in January.
Turn 18. So I think he would love it. He loves supercars. His nephew loves supercars. So, I mean, there's some really cool cars all the way around.
They all love like supercars because of like the video games they'd play. What are the video games? Which
Gran Turismo.
Yeah,
and
Gran Turismo is like old. Forza.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all about the supercars on those.
Yeah.
Well, that's rad.
What's the big plan for FuelFest, man, going forward?
It's really just to be able to host authentic, safe, fun events that appeals to everybody that wants to come out and really just help to build the next generation of car enthusiasts. I think it's definitely likely that, in the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing people that are registering their cars or drifting their cars that said, I came to my my first one when I said, this is what I have to do. So I think that's going to be really cool. It's just building that next generation and doing it honestly and fun and really just growing a team that shares that same passion.
It's so important. I mean, to try and just expose the younger generations and stuff to this. Like Chance was telling me yesterday, he was driving in his truck. He's got a TikTok. I mean, he's got a decent following. Yeah. And it's like someone was videoing him from behind, and they kind of pulled up next to him, kind of waved him down, and they kind of pulled over, and this guy gets out with his 10-year-old son and says, my son follows you on TikTok.
Oh my
gosh. A
gosh.
huge fan of your truck. Do you mind like taking a picture with him? He's a little shy, won't come over. Took a picture with him, took a picture with the truck, and it was pretty awesome, just being able to impact the younger crowd and paving the way for the industry and the passions that we love.
It's amazing, man. I love it. I think we lost Randal on that last one. I think our meeting may have ran out on that Zoom.
Oh, but, no.
I'll see if I can get him in one more time. Get in one more time.
Well, I saw that coming, but I know.
Me too. I didn't know it was a stop it though.
But then you weren't pausing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna run with this. I was gonna try and wrap it up right there towards the end, and then you come with another question. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he knows something I don't know.
That's hilarious, man. No, insane. Well, thank you, Randal, for coming on. It was a really, really cool podcast talking about FuelFest and everything.
Do you the website, Instagram?
Where is just FuelFest.com or reach out worldwide. It's roww.org, and you get to go check it out there and. Yeah, man, it's really cool what they're doing. Their events are insane. You got to go.
You're filming them all,
yeah,
right?
We're filming all of them. So since I think we're on like number 8 that we've been filming for them. So we're going to Japan with them here next week.
Are you bringing out the gimbals and putting them on cars out there?
Not crazy stuff. No, it's more of a behind the scenes thing. So they want to know what's going on. The show with the whole behind the scenes process of going with Cody Walker and Tyrese.
So the production
side of things. Yeah. So it's going to be cool. We're out there for a week. And
basically, they're going to let you in on all their trade secrets and how they make it possible.
Pretty much. Exactly. So, yeah, it's really exciting to let's see how I'm going to get him on here just so we close it out real quick. But, it starts 8 minutes. Oh, we got 8 minutes. Anyways, that's all right. I think it was a great podcast. I think we're coming to an end there anyways.
All right, guys. Well,
thank you guys so much. Don't forget to go check out Reach Out Worldwide. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff,
and
too.
If you have any people you want us to get on, let us know or tell them they need to get on.
Yes, if you have anyone that wants to come on the podcast, we'd love to bring them on. So we appreciate it very much, and we're out. See ya.
Whoa. Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah. Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say, I got him picking up the pieces.